So, something huge just happened in the world of nutrition. On January 7th, 2026, the US government dropped its brand new dietary guidelines, and wow, they have set off a seismic shift in American food policy, maybe the biggest we've seen in decades. So yeah, let's dive into what's being called a historic reset. So, what's the biggest, most shocking change? Well, get this. The food pyramid is back. Yeah, that thing we all learned about in health class. It was retired for what, 15 years? And now it's returned. But, and this is the crazy part, it's not the one you remember. This time, it's been flipped completely upside down, literally turning decades of nutritional advice on its head. Okay, let's look at this side by side. On the left, you've got the MyPlate graphic from 2011. Super familiar, right? That balanced plate where grains had a pretty big slice of the pie. But now, look to the right. That's the new 2026 pyramid. And the difference is, well, it's night and day. The priorities have been completely shuffled. Grains, they've been kicked all the way down to that tiny little tip at the bottom. And look what's at the top, the biggest part: protein, fats, and produce. A total reverse.
So yeah, America's food pyramid has officially been flipped. This radical redesign, this inverted pyramid, it's really the poster child for what the administration is calling a historic reset of our entire nutrition policy. This wasn't an accident. It's a very deliberate attempt to completely change how we as a country think about food.
And the message behind it all? You can hear it loud and clear in this quote from the HHS secretary. He says, "These guidelines return us to the basics." The whole idea is a call to action, really. They're saying, hey, America is in a health crisis, and it's because of decades of bad advice. Their solution? We've got to get back to what they're calling real food.
Okay, so they're calling it the official real food plan, but what does that actually mean? Like, what are the rules? Let's get into the nitty-gritty.
All right, so the whole plan really boils down to 5 main ideas. First up, prioritize protein. We're talking at every single meal. Next, they want you to embrace full-fat dairy. Yeah, the good stuff, just as long as it doesn't have any added sugars. And this is a big one. For the first time ever, the guidelines are explicitly telling us to avoid highly processed foods. They're also getting way stricter on sugar. And last but not least, they're seriously dialing back the role of grains in our diet.
And when they say prioritize protein, they are not kidding. This chart really shows the biggest numbers change of all. The recommended protein intake? It's been jacked up by 50 to 100%. I mean, look at this. For a 150-pound person, the old advice was around 54 grams a day. The new guidelines? They want you somewhere between 82 and 109 grams. That's a massive jump. The thinking behind it is that more protein is better for muscle health and for keeping you full. Okay, so that's the plan. But as you can probably guess, this whole historic reset didn't exactly get a standing ovation from everyone. Almost immediately, nutrition scientists and medical experts started raising their hands, pointing out some pretty major contradictions that seem to be baked right into this new advice. And this right here, this is the central puzzle that has a lot of experts just scratching their heads. On one hand, the new pyramid is all about promoting full-fat dairy, butter, and red meat. But on the other hand, they kept the exact same really strict limit on saturated fat. So, wait, what? How are we supposed to do both? It seems impossible. And just to be super clear on that limit, it hasn't changed at all. The rule is still that a maximum of 10% of your daily calories should come from saturated fat. So for the average person eating a 2,000-calorie diet, that works out to about 22 grams a day. Exactly the same number we've had for years. So this is where it gets really interesting. Let's do the math. If you actually follow the new advice and have, say, 3 servings of full-fat dairy, like a glass of whole milk, some yogurt, a slice of cheese, you're already at 17 grams of saturated fat. Just from that, that's 77% of your daily limit, gone. And you haven't even had a steak or put butter on anything or eaten any other food that has saturated fat. The numbers, they just don't seem to add up. So what does the administration say about all this? Well, they're defending their process. In their official fact sheet, they say they've restored common sense, scientific integrity, and accountability. Their argument is basically that the old way of doing things was broken, that it was influenced by corporate interests instead of what was best for people. But there's another side to this story. Members of the Independent Scientific Committee, these are the experts who traditionally advise the government on this stuff, they're telling a very different story. They're saying their own scientific report was completely rejected, and that these new guidelines, they were written behind closed doors with no transparency and totally outside the rigorous scientific process that's supposed to be in place. So you've got the government on one side and a bunch of nutrition scientists on the other. What in the world does this all mean for you, for us? When you're in the grocery store trying to figure out what to buy or planning meals for your family, what are you supposed to think? Let's try to cut through the noise and figure out the practical takeaways.
All right, let's boil it all down. Here are the key things to remember. First, this isn't just some friendly advice on a pamphlet. It has a massive real-world impact. We're talking about the rules for school lunches for 30 million kids, plus SNAP benefits and even what your doctor might tell you. Second, let's be fair. The core advice to eat whole foods and ditch the ultra-processed junk and sugar, pretty much everyone on all sides agrees that's a good thing. But third, and this is the real kicker, is the central conflict. The push for more animal protein and full-fat dairy smacks right up against that strict saturated fat limit, and that's where the science gets confusing and the debate really heats up.
Which leaves us with one massive question. The government is calling this a historic reset, a bold new path to make America healthy. But when you look at the contradictions, the confusing math, and the huge debate over the science, you have to wonder, is this new upside-down pyramid really going to fix American health, or did it just unleash a whole new wave of confusion for all of us?